I used to hate when people would be like, just wait till they're teenagers when my kids were little. Because quite honestly, I've enjoyed teenagers. And I think it's because I did two things as teenagers that made it easier. The first thing is realizing that the key to teenagers is actually between the ages of 7 and 12. I call these the literal years because they're just so literal about everything. These years are really easy to go into autopilot because what they talk about seems mundane to us. Unless we have very similar likes and dislikes, it's not really going to be a whole bunch of conversation that enthralls you. You're gonna hear about Minecraft, Fortnite, train sets. You're gonna hear random facts about Bigfoot because there's always seems to be a Bigfoot phase. The key is to actually be engaged and enjoy your children at this time, because if you go into autopilot, you're going to lose their hearts. The other reason that parents tend to go into autopilot during these years is because your kids are going to be away from you more often, especially if your kids are in school, which means that the time you see them are more practical times. Do your homework, you need to get your chores done, you need to do this, and you don't have as much of the personable play times like you did before. There's also the recovery period from getting out of the acid trip years of 0 to 6, where you're just kind of recovering from the craziness of the first 6 years of them. But I would say of all of the years that your kids really need your mental focus, it's during these years. So paying attention in literal years are going to make the next stage easier, which brings us to the next stage. I call ages 13 to 18 the takeover years because they're slowly taking over the weight of themselves. There's not like some magical thing that happens when they're 18 that all of a sudden they can just fend for themselves. It's a slow fade. Which means slowly they need more privileges, slowly they need less rules, slowly they need to understand what self-governance is. Slowly they need to figure out how to earn money, manage themselves, manage their chores. Think of it like going to the gym. The first time you show up at the gym, you're not going to be the strongest. However, if you show up there every day for 5 years, you are just going to organically get stronger. You're going to know everything about the gym. You're going to understand more about the machines. It's not going to be a foreign land to you, but that first time is scary. So rather than think of your kids like just graduating from high school and then you launch them into the real world, instead think of it as you've slowly faded them into the real world so that it's not as scary. Because there's a lot of failures that need to happen. There's a lot of struggles that need to happen during those years. And you really want to be able to develop that relationship with them that says, I know this might be hard, but I'm going to be right here if you need help. So build that relationship during 7 to 12. And then maintain that relationship as you're basically introducing them to the full world in the ages of 13 and 18. The goal is relationship, respect, and them having the amount of responsibility that they are able to maintain.